Expressed are those of the program host and guest and not WSTU. WSTU does not endorse any products mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU.
The Treasure Coast longest running local talk radio show is on the air. The Treasure Coast Forum. Get interested, get educated, get involved, and give us a call with your opinions at 220-9788. And here's your host of the Treasure Coast Forum.
Hello, you are listening to WSTU 1450, Martin County's Heritage Station. Thank you for tuning in. I am here with Amira and Mr. Frank. How is everyone?
And you are?
And I am Jamie.
Yes,
Hello.
you are.
And today is my birthday.
Happy birthday to Jamie.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Amira and I celebrated, well, we did kind of like a pre-celebration like 2 days ago, and we went to Palm Beach.
Right.
Down to Palm Beach, and we went to a nice
City
restaurant.
place, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And, you know, we kind of celebrated, did some shopping, and
That's what girls do.
of course.
Yes. So shoes or something more substantial?
We kind of just window shopped just to look at some nice stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so we didn't buy too much because
Everything was on the menu as far as looking at stuff.
Right,
Okay,
right.
got it.
You know, when we saw something, we would buy it, but
Yes.
nothing came up to that day. So
okay.
we'll try
All
again.
right.
Yeah. Okay. So, one interesting news that I found recently was that PlayStation is announcing a Project Leonardo, or it was like maybe a day ago that they announced Project Leonardo.
No, who announced this again?
PlayStation.
Oh, PlayStation.
Yes.
Okay. I thought you said police station. PlayStation.
Definitely not PlayStation.
Okay.
Right.
PlayStation, which is a
Video game console developed by the company Sony.
got it. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And just if you don't know what a console is, it's an electric device that outputs a video signal or image
Mhm.
to display a video game that can be controlled with a controller.
Got it.
So
Like a joystick.
right, or
Mhm.
just like buttons, something like that, maybe
Mhm.
keyboard.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and a couple more examples. Just why not PlayStation, Nintendo, Atari, Mr. Frank? Do you remember Atari?
Yes.
Did you like Atari?
No.
No?
I never was a gamer.
Okay. What did you do instead? Read or?
Yeah. But no, I didn't. The eye-hand coordination. Do you know why Solitaire was developed by Microsoft?
I do not.
So that to help people develop their eye-hand coordination to get people comfortable using a mouse.
Okay.
That was the whole thing.
Interesting.
That's the reason why they developed that game. But
I love Solitaire.
right, but that was the backroom theory to because how are we going to get people to? Because before that, it was strictly the 101 keyboard, right? And so if you want to go to the next screen, it's tab and
Okay.
right?
Okay. Right. Okay.
So so they said, well, so Windows was just developing, and that meant you could have more than one screen open, because before that it was just DOS only, and you didn't really need a mouse to operate DOS.
That's interesting.
So DOS actually works in the background, but anyway, so I mean, I understood the stuff, but gaming was never
a thing.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question for Mr. Frank.
Yeah.
So, at our age, we were born and raised in like 2 years after I was born, the iPhone came out. So we were always raised with screens and all that stuff.
Right,
and of
right.
course, we learned this in AP Psych, Jamie and I, that younger people have more neuroplasticity, so they can adapt and they're more versatile when learning new things. So how difficult was the adjustment when all of a sudden you lived in a world where it was all pen and paper, and all of a sudden computers popped up?
Right. So I always, yes, it is making that transition is very interesting. I always would, and I still say it today, I'm an analog guy in a digital world. So I mean, I still see things more analog, and I understand to some degree how the digital world works, but
like, would you prefer analog over digital?
Yeah.
Okay.
I look at like the face of a clock. That's an analog clock.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
I like that. You know,
Yeah.
I have no problem. I can still look at that. And there's a lot of kids today that'll look at an analog clock, could not tell you what time it is.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Yes.
There were some kids in my class. It was very disappointing
Yes.
actually.
See,
One,
there-
2, 3, 4. It goes 1, 2,
Uh,
3, all the way
yeah.
to 10.
I
Yeah, you
know.
get it. I
Yeah,
12.
my
Sorry,
teachers are
not
like-
10.
My
That's
tea-
concerning. I'm one of those kids.
But yeah.
yeah, my teachers are just like, count. Like,
Right.
can you count? Because that's just how you use a clock.
Like sundial. I bet you nobody knows how to operate a sundial.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't know how to operate a sundial.
Mm.
No.
So
No.
let's say, okay, so yesterday we had a solar storm come breezing through
Okay.
our planet,
Mhm.
right? Because we reached our closest point, our perigee to the sun, coincidentally, and the Earth happened to be just facing the right direction to the sun from a solar flare. So it's like this big burst of energy came from the sun. And that's never a good thing if you got satellites and electronics and stuff like that. So if there was like a really big radioactive burst that came out of the sun, and a very strong one, it could theoretically destroy all of our satellites, and then we'd go back to being analog again,
Okay.
right?
Oh wow.
In a New York minute.
Yeah.
It happens
Wow.
right quick and fast. But
I can only imagine.
yeah, so you have to be so a sundial. You could very easily create your own if you're stuck in the woods somewhere and you want to figure out what time it is. You put a stick in the ground and you look at the shadow.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
Now I
okay.
know what it is.
All
Yeah.
right, you can actually, and that's how you could tell what time it is.
And I've heard of like I watched I think like a survival show or something where they put their palm up against the sun
Mhm.
and whether it was like below their third finger, fourth finger, just down, they could tell what time it is and whether the sun was setting. It's kind of interesting. I don't know how it works, but
Hmm.
just kind of analog to kind of like made things from the
Right.
human.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. So
Okay. So we did digress, but go ahead.
yeah, no, it's fine. So the PlayStation has been around for a while. It was first developed in Japan in 1994, and it finally came to the US in 1995 when we finally bought it from them and it debuted here.
Mhm.
So just to dip away from the topic a little bit, the price of or not topic, but the price of the first one was originally $299 in 1990. Now that equates to about $681 now, which is kind of a lot of money. So
a
and now
little pricey.
yeah. So now these days, which is what I kind of found interesting because the price decreased, is now
Mhm.
$499 for the PlayStation 5. That's not developed. So the original one that first came out was $299, and back then 681. Now today, it is the PlayStation 5 is about $499.
And the PlayStation 4, I believe, is only 300 in the 300 range.
Right.
300
So
something. Yeah.
considering how much more technologically advanced the
It went
new
up.
one is,
The price went up because
price went-
yeah, so
yeah.
it was 300 something for PS4 than PS5. I think it became more expensive because the PS5 has way more components than the PS4. But
right.
since we are more technologically advanced than we were back in the 90s, it is cheaper than it was in the 90s.
Yeah. So I found that interesting. Anywho, back to the topic.
Yeah.
So the Leonardo project
Okay.
seeks to create more accessibility to the gamers who have limited motor skills. So basically, what they created and who have limited dexterity with the controller, holding the controller and actually doing the game. So the controller has yet to be named. So far, they've named it just the Leonardo project. So basically, it looks like how I would describe it is like a little UFO with a little knob. So the UFO has its perimeter has the little controls that would normally be on a controller. So
Okay.
yeah, you have a little joystick, and then you have the little components that you could play with. So yeah, the knob is sticking out and the buttons. Okay, so what this allows is the person to lay the controller on the ground, so they don't have to like hold it up or just like I don't know, like configure your fingers. So
Oh.
yeah, so they could just touch the buttons around, and so I think this is, and without actually having to hold it, I think this is a kind of a neat product. It's a win to those who want to play who has limited mobility
Okay.
and just never had the ability to do so.
Right.
And I actually have a story about this. So my friend, he has autism, and and a long time ago, he came over to my house, and my brother was playing a video game, and he said, he wanted to try it out, but he really couldn't like configure the remote control enough to play the game, and he was still a little new at it. So
Hmm.
I feel like this would be a very helpful product.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to help him out and with those fine motor skills. So
Very
yeah.
interesting.
So yeah, and then well also and you will have the arguments to say video games are unhealthy for the mind, whatever, but it's a step towards the right direction of allowing more accessibility and giving PlayStation more kind of a wider variety of people to sell their things to. So I think it would be a pretty fairly good.
Okay, so Leonardo
Product.
Project. So it's just basically an interface device that allows you to translate your hand motions to whatever it is you want to see on the screen.
Right.
Okay.
It's just a little simpler and easier.
All right.
Yeah, so that's something that I researched. And if I would pass it off to Amir, you have anything
You
would
want
like
to? Are you curious why they use the name Leonardo?
Yes.
I'm not gonna say it.
Say it.
Go,
No,
go
you
on.
can say it.
Go on.
Leonardo, is it like Da Vinci or something?
I would guess.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
I
think
would guess
so.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
So-
and why would they pick his name?
Da Vinci. Amir.
Why are you looking at me?
You know about this stuff.
Oh, I know he's
He was an
lefty.
inventor.
Yeah.
He was an inventor, yeah.
Right.
I know he's a lefty, so I don't know if that gave him any disadvantage back then. I know back then they were more cruel to lefties than they are now, especially since religion was
Oh,
more
yeah.
prevalent in running the world instead of governments and stuff. It was more religion.
Right.
So they thought that being a lefty, you were wrong, and that the devil had possessed you something.
Correct.
And they would do this correction type of thing
Oh,
where
yeah.
they force you to be right-handed.
Mhm.
I think that happened to Ringo Starr, and that's why he's ambidextrous.
Mm.
Yeah, which helped him in the long run anyway, for being one of the greatest
drummer.
drummers ever. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I think that might have been a thing. I mean, I am a lefty too. There's not too many big problems. I think like the mouse, computer mouse, that's one big thing. But I grew up, I adapted using my right hand with the mouse.
Mhm.
But then I do notice that sometimes, like if I'm doing something like a little game with my friends on the computer at school or whatever, and I need to move the mouse and stuff, I have a little bit of a disadvantage. Also, sometimes with driving, it's a little weird. I barely started. I've been on the wheel for 2 seconds and my mom freaked out and decided not to do it. But yeah, also I do have a jet ski, and the engine ignition is on the right side. So I remember I do feel a little insecure about that. I am crazy on the jet ski. I'm pretty good at it, but I would be much better if it was on the left. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem. And
Mhm.
also when you write down, your hand goes over the words that you write down, so
Right.
ink goes on your hand. So that's a little bit of a pet peeve, and sometimes it
Mm.
smudges the words. But
I mean,
yeah.
nowadays being a lefty in sports is glorified because they're like, because I remember
It's
going
great for baseball.
Mhm.
great for baseball, great for volleyball,
Mhm.
For hitting lefties, because there's a certain set or what is it, like you throw the ball up in the air to initiate the game.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right.
there's a certain kind of way lefties can twist their hand to like
Put the spin on the ball.
put the
Mhm.
spin on the ball differently and make it aim different areas. So
Ah.
whenever my volleyball coach, he's like, "Oh, you're lefty." They actually had a separate place to learn the volleyball because everyone else was righty, and so
Ah.
yeah, they taught him a bit differently. So now it's more glorified these days to be lefty.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So they find it helpful.
I tried to explain this to one of my neighbors in our our building complex, and about excuse me, in baseball, left-handed hitters have an advantage to first base because they're already on the first base side
Pointed
of
that
the
way.
batting box.
Mm-hmm.
So they get like a half a step cheat, not a cheat, but they have an opportunity to get to first base quicker,
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
right? And there's a lot of times that runners are thrown out by a half a step. So
That's the
half a-
difference.
Yeah. So that's a big deal. Yeah, being a good runner, but being left-handed, hitting, and being able to
Hit a lefty.
beat out a grounder,
Mm-hmm.
nice.
Now, obviously, it comes with practice. Obviously being a lefty doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be the best.
Correct.
Oh yeah, there's
right.
no way. You put me in a
Right.
baseball field, I probably couldn't even walk.
Plus, there's this thing called cross dominance. Do you know what that is?
No. but I
Okay.
can-
All right. So if I'm right-handed,
Okay.
but I'm left-eyed, so what does that mean? It means my left eye is my dominant eye. So it's called cross dominance because I'm right-handed with a left-handed eye,
I have that too.
right?
My right eye is dominant.
Correct. So what that means is, for example, if I'm standing in the batter's box, again, another baseball analogy, I'm standing in the batter's box, my left eye is a little closer to the pitcher than my right eye.
Mm-hmm.
So that
So
cross dominance gives me just a little better look at that baseball,
okay. Yeah.
right? Because your head is tilted,
Mm-hmm.
and so your right eye has to strain to get to read that baseball. If it's a curveball, a fastball, a slider, what's going on? Is it a breaking pitch of some sort, or you got to know because they're throwing high speeds, right?
Mhm.
And you can't guess. You don't want to guess wrong.
Right.
And so, but being cross dominant gives you it doesn't mean you're going to be better,
Right.
but it gives you a little bit of a visual edge to identify that pitch just a microsecond quicker.
Yeah. Just down to the details and just everything.
Yeah,
Do you
it's really-
guys think that we were born and we just happen to be left-handed or right-eyed or whatever, or do you think that we learned somehow?
No, I
learned
don't. I
ourselves?
think it's probably part of your genetic DNA.
Mhm.
I don't think it's learned behavior.
Mhm.
Although you can learn, I mean, think about it. We got two of everything. We got two lungs, two eyes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So 2 ears. So
Right.
if you lose one aspect of something, you can compensate.
Mhm.
So yeah. So if you're right-handed and maybe you lose your right arm, or you lose the use of it because you broke it climbing a tree or something, right? You learn to
Well,
do
you
everything with
get
your
me.
left arm, right?
You looked at me when you said you'd break your arm climbing a tree. I don't know why.
No, I wanted to include you in the
Oh, okay,
conversation.
thank
that's
you.
all. Yes.
By the way, I would probably do that if I climbed a tree.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, there you go. but not necessarily. You could, so the trick is if you fall, you want to roll. If you take away
Mhm.
some of the
Some of that parkour stuff.
yes.
I'm not into that.
Yes.
It's a bit tough.
Right. So, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll just jump into the next one. Or
Okay.
How much time do
We
we
got
have?
4 minutes.
Okay. Brief overview. So
Okay.
yesterday I went to weightlifting.
Nice.
Wonderful workout. We worked out legs, and
Okay. Very important part of your core.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, we did squats, everything.
Yeah.
So one of the girls asked, "Hey, you guys want to go cold plunge?" And I'm like, "Wait a minute." So me and my dad and my family have been talking about getting saunas. We've been doing cold plunges in our
Okay.
bathtubs.
For the uninitiated, what
Okay.
is a cold plunge?
A cold plunge is when you sit in a tub of ice water. Could be
Woo!
Ugh.
yeah.
Whoa. I vote no.
Either from it can be either from 30 degrees Fahrenheit to 50 degrees Fahrenheit,
30?
and you
Woo.
sit in there
Yeah.
and you freeze your
Yeah, your
Butt
My
off.
butt
Yeah.
can snow
For
at 30.
you're gonna get hyperthermia though, right?
so you sit in there for 3 to 5 minutes,
Okay.
which is enough to have the benefits.
And
So the benefits are
It wakes you up.
well, yeah.
it could. It most definitely could.
Yeah.
It'll help the muscles to recover faster in a sense. So the ice bath and the compression from the water and the ice, just from being in there, pressure causes constriction of the blood vessels.
Right.
So basically,
and that brings the blood to your core to
Right.
keep your body heat so you can live longer, right?
right,
Yeah.
right.
Right. So you don't get hypothermia.
And so yeah, it kind of just what I could say is it's more of kind of what's a good way to say this? Hold on. Actually, before I get to that thought, I would actually like to talk about saunas first. So, saunas, they were talking about this benefits and saying that it helps to relieve joint pain. So,
Yes.
sorry, a sauna is when you sit in the heat.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
So the
It's generally could be a dry heat.
could be dry heat and could be steam. The
Right.
traditional saunas are more steam.
Right.
So the steam you're sitting in there, it's more of like to sweat and stuff, and just like it's kind of traditional what you think, like you open up the door
Right.
and all the steam comes out.
Right.
So what me and my dad and my family are getting are infrared saunas.
Yeah,
So infrared,
yes. Very cool.
very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so many health benefits. So basically what they do is
They help
they
draw the toxins out of your body, right?
yes, they draw the toxins out of your body, and it's like it's steam. It's okay, sorry. It's lamps in an infrared sauna focus on penetrating the warmth directly on your skin to bring heat therapy benefits. And those benefits include like easing your pain, relaxing your muscles, like opening your blood vessels to get the blood through your arms,
Mm.
and yeah, pretty much like restoring your body, and you even get a workout in because you start to sweat,
Right.
and it's like it elevates your heart
Heart
rate.
rate,
Yep,
yeah.
and everything starts to go up. So about 20 to 30 minutes, or yeah, about 20 to 30 minutes every a day
Yeah.
or each session
Mhm.
is recommended, and I think about 118 or 80 hours a week, something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, each session you just relax, let your body do its thing, let it sweat. It's kind of like having a workout,
Right.
but you're kind of just more relaxed and
Now, do you
easing your muscles.
hydrate first, though? You pound down a bunch of water before you get in the sauna?
You can, and you can actually have a water bottle in the sauna
Yeah.
because it's not gonna get hot because
Right.
it's not heat. It's just infrared lights
Right.
that make that penetrate your skin, right?
Yeah.
So actually, we tested that. So there we
That's
had
cool.
yeah. So we recently did it at iCryo. It's a
Mm.
wonderful place, very very calming. They also have a cryo machine, so or like a cryo kind of. Instead of a sauna, you have cold in there, so you sit in there for like 3 to 5 minutes. Basically, a bunch of cold air instead of having a ice bath, or a cold plunge, you have air on you, so a bunch of cold air.
That's better.
Yeah, some people might like that better.
Yeah.
Still 3 to 5 minutes, but so we went to iCryo and we tested it out, and it was wonderful. We sweated so much, and we were in about there for about 30 minutes. It was great. It was a whole workout. We were so pooped from it, and we had a water bottle in there, and we were worried. We're like, wait a minute. The plastic didn't melt. Nothing got into the water from the plastic probably, and it was a safe environment for the water bottle.
Wow.
So yeah, that was wonderful.
Wow.
And it's actually you might even be able to take your phone in there. To be honest, I mean, yeah, because of
It'd be kind of nice to unplug, though. Wouldn't
oh
it?
yeah, it's a time to just relax and maybe step away from your
Right.
phone for a few minutes.
Right. So, Amira, do you want to give us a toss to
Glenn Miller.
no?
Aw.
How about Rocky and
Rocky and
Bullwinkle?
Bullwinkle. Okay.
Yeah, let's do
Okay, I'm gonna give a toss to Rocky and Bullwinkle.
that. Okay. All right.
Fire it up.
Maybe.
Fire it up.
Fire in the hole.
And now,
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
again,
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
wrong hat.
I take a 7.5.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
All right. Happy birthday to Jamie.
Thank you so
It is
much.
now official.
Thank you so much. Okay, I would like to finish my thought about the cold plunge.
Sure.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
dipped away from that a bit. So some of the benefits of cold plunging, as we know, because when we get like a little bump or something, and we go to the nurse's office, they give us ice. So
Mm-hmm. Right.
that's used to cause or to like decrease
Constrict the-
inflammation,
right.
Constrict the blood vessels, just
Mhm.
like exactly. So that's what it's meant to do,
Mhm.
pretty much, and just
Okay.
just improve your overall well-being and just release some of the toxins as well. Some people actually go from a sauna to a cold plunge.
Oof.
Now, yeah, that is brutal, but
No. I vote no.
but yeah,
I
Yeah,
can
it
do
was
this. I
crazy.
bought one and I owned one, infrared sauna for a little
Mhm.
while.
Good.
And maybe I owned it for about a year or so. But I liked it. I hardly used it. But when I did use it, I liked
It was great. Yeah. Good.
So I get married, and my wife says, "What are we doing with this?" And I said, "Well, I kind of like it." She goes, "Yeah, we could use the space for something else."
I guess, yeah.
So I sold it.
But
but-
yeah, they're very expensive.
Oh yeah.
Good.
It's beautiful wood out of California. It's in the cedar.
That's where we're
family.
getting.
Yeah.
That.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness, you just described what my dad is getting.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got a remote
wait.
control comes
Yeah.
with it. Yeah.
And with the lights,
Yeah.
you can't wait.
Yeah.
Each light like stimulates what
Yes.
is going into your body,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is very cool.
Yeah. So I know of what you speak.
I
Very-
understand.
Very cool. Yeah. All
Jinx,
right.
no.
Yeah. Right. It's
Okay.
very cool. So we've got something Amira's got right to talk about.
Okay.
Go, Amira.
Okay. So, Elon Musk, billionaire, does SpaceX, all sorts of crazy things. Neuralink, Jamie talks about that a lot on this show.
Yes.
And he owns Twitter.
He
Yay.
does.
And
Yeah.
as soon as he got Twitter, he unbanned everyone who's ever been banned. He really supports freedom of speech. And some of these people include Andrew Tate. And so last year, this was like the cream of the crop of drama last year going on the internet. Right, like the last week of 2022, this dropped on Twitter. So Greta Thunberg, who was on the Time magazine, I think a few years ago, she's known for her advocating and promoting prevention of climate change and all sorts of stuff
Right,
like that. She's
right.
19, I believe now.
Yeah.
18,
She was
19.
16 at the time.
Yeah, she was 16 when she got on the magazine. Now
Mhm,
she's
mhm.
19.
Yeah.
And so Andrew Tate is a podcast person. He's a billionaire too. He's a bit of a misogynist.
Okay.
And he's known to be the type of guy who's like alpha male, real man type of dude. And he is also known to flex, and he has a huge ego. And so he tweeted Greta Thunberg saying, "This is my collection of cars, and here's my Bugatti, and they all emit so many fossil fuels and stuff." Kind of
Right.
like a flex, saying that, "Hey, your climate change stuff, it's irrelevant. My cars are always going to be there anyway." And then Greta Thunberg replied back in a tweet saying that, "Yes, sir, please do enlighten me at small penis word energy
Yeah.
at getalife.com."
Yeah.
And so that went viral. It was one of the most liked tweets of all time, one of the top 10. And then Andrew Tate came back
Yeah.
2 days later. I
Yeah.
think maybe on 10 hours later. So he definitely cried to his mommy
Yeah.
within that time.
Yeah.
And he had to think about what's he going to do next. He's like, I can't let the public know I'm weak. He comes back. There's a video, okay, right under this tweet saying that, "Great, now the world all knows you have a small beep. I'm going to beat myself." And then he said, I memorized the whole thing. And then he said, all sorts of rude things because you could tell his ego was hurt.
Yeah.
And then there's a video of him, right, with a cigar, and he's probably going on a rant.
Sorry.
He goes on a whole rant about how his masculinity will never be tarnished or whatever the heck. And then in that video, there's a pizza box, a couple pizza boxes. And so Romanian police found out that pizza box was part of a local Romanian pizza chain, Jerry's Pizza. I know it's a very American
Right.
name for a Romanian chain. So they tracked him down, and then just a day later, Romanian police arrested Andrew Tate and his brother on human trafficking charges.
They were looking for.
Yeah, they
him?
were looking for him.
Wow.
And they would never have found him if it weren't for the pizza box. And it wouldn't have been that big of a public deal. he would have been caught very silently. So he was probably in Romania because he was hiding, because he knew maybe. And it would never have happened if he didn't taunt Greta Thunberg about his cars. And then Elon Musk came and he's like, sometimes it's better to have pizza at home. And then he supported Greta Thunberg and called her really cool. So that was what happened in 2022,
Okay.
Wow, yeah.
right when it ended.
If you
So-
didn't have that pizza box.
Yeah, if he
Just the small
didn't
things.
flex, if he didn't decide to be an arrogant a-hole, I mean, he would have never been caught by Romanian police. But I guess he deserves it. Definitely deserves it.
Interesting.
But we don't know if he's 100% guilty. We just know that there's an investigation taking place.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. All
No, that was definitely
Wow.
that was an ending to 2022, I would
Right.
say.
Right. At the beginning of 2022, or near the beginning of 2022, and February 24th, does anybody know what happened on February 24th, 1922? Or 2022, rather?
I would have been able to answer the first question.
Yeah. February 24th, 2022.
I don't remember.
A hint,
War.
possibly. Oh.
Oh, that's-
Oh shoot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Russia invaded
Ukraine. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Actually, when I went to Czech Republic, Germany, and Austria, there was an amazing amount of support for Ukraine.
Yeah.
Amazing amount. Like in Berlin, all over, there were just graffiti of Putin wearing diapers and running away. There was all sorts of stuff. Like there was hands off Ukraine, Putin all over big churches and all everywhere. There were a lot of people supporting Ukraine.
Yeah.
A lot of people. They put like Ukraine flags on stuff. They had places to put flowers, and people walking around gathering money to donate. There was an amazing amount of support.
A lot of YouTubers now are saying like, hey, try to support us, learn about us more,
Right.
understand like where we came from,
Mhm.
and understand why you should support us, and maybe why we should keep our land and stay autonomous, like from
Mhm.
Russia.
Mhm.
So it was definitely a big movement.
Wait, are you guys talking about this in school? I mean, this is world-changing event. You would think that would be
Hmm.
in-school conversation.
Amira, do you remember anything? I think I've touched on this a bit. I don't remember too much about us talking about it more in Mr. Armato's class where he served the army before.
Afghanistan? I mean, surprisingly, we only talked about it a couple of times in school, like when it just happened, or a normal conversation, but there hasn't been really an in-depth, hey, class, listen, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
I did have a history teacher, American history teacher, amazing, Patrick Sermino. He works at Stewart Middle School. I miss you so much. You were one of my favorites. So he was American history teacher, and he always used to brush us up on news. Like he was the first person who told me about COVID-19. I didn't know COVID-19 was happening. He was like the first one who said, "Look, class, Wuhan, China has this COVID-19 thing coming up." So yeah, he was always present about that. Not too many people have talked about it. Not too much. Moreover, it does pop up, let's say, in world history. If we're talking about a war or something, we're talking about the Soviet Union, and then Ukraine will pop up. But it's nothing like this is what just happened in Ukraine. It's just we know it exists. We do acknowledge that it's happening.
What are your thoughts about that?
About
the fact
lack of
yeah, I mean, there's lots of information on the internet that you can, but we used to get our news and information in school or the newspaper at home, or the 6 o'clock news, Walter Cronkite and like that. And that was during the Vietnam War.
Oh wow, you were in.
I think maybe because Vietnam War had American involvement. I think maybe that might be a sad
but we
truth.
have so right now, American involvement. The United States is deeply involved in the war that's taking place in Ukraine. Did you know that?
I know, but not exactly like Vietnam War.
Correct. No boots on the ground.
Yeah, not to that extent.
But logistical, material, financial support. If the United States and the NATO allies, that some of them that you mentioned, didn't support Ukraine, Ukraine would have fallen by now. So this is, I think, worthy of a conversation that students should be having in school. I believe.
Oh yeah, it's forever
Yeah,
history. It's forever
definitely.
history.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's because it's going to affect you going forward. Putin has threatened to use his nuclear arsenal
Hmm.
in this war,
Yeah.
which would be game over for all
Mhm.
of us. So it's something we shouldn't be
Aware of.
flip of about. Yes, we should be aware of it. It's likely. I pray that it won't happen. Likely it won't because it'll be bad day for him too.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but this is serious stuff.
Yeah.
Serious global stuff, and it's because of problems that were never resolved. And this is the type of stuff that, if you learn, one of the things we learn from history is that we haven't learned from history.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
Because if we fail to really understand what's going on,
We're gonna
then
repeat it.
then we're doomed to repeat the same mistakes.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And that's the whole reason why I enjoyed history when I was in school, because I said, wow, this is like a blueprint. These are all the problems. You just avoid doing these things and we'll be fine.
Mhm.
Fine
You
and
know,
dandy. Yeah.
don't do the stupid stuff, right?
Right.
And but apparently, so it seems like our society has dumbed down our society so that public is not aware of all the stupid stuff,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then it allows the bad people to continue doing this stupid stuff, and then all of a sudden we wake up and go, how did we get here? How did this happen?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how this happens, but it seems to happen.
One of the things that I think I mentioned on the radio show last time was
Hmm.
that people I don't think people are caring about it, or I don't think people of my age are caring about it too much because it's not directly affecting them.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
maybe they may see it in their families, like their parents, but I don't know if the parents are so open about it with them,
Right.
right? Because yeah, and it doesn't directly affect them. Like they don't have. I mean, some people have a job, but they don't have to support themselves
Right.
in many situations. So that's why I don't think it's too much like talked about amongst us, but definitely we should be more informed.
Yes.
I don't
Right.
think it's too much talked about in schools because recently there has been more censorship because people are just worried about hurting everyone's feelings nowadays. And even like they banned books like To Kill a Mockingbird just because it uses the N word a couple of times. Like
Mm.
it's not used in a positive light. The whole book actually is promoting civil rights. The whole point of it is that you can't just judge a person because of the color of their skin. It's all about judging people by character, and they still banned it because one word was used.
Right.
So nowadays, I think because of
The
that
thought police.
censorship,
Right.
yeah, because of that censorship and that fear of, oh, this might be too heavy or sensitive material and someone might complain, they don't talk about it that much.
It's a
Right.
problem. Well, we won't resolve that problem, but we'll probably move on to this and other issues when we return. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back.
Wow, beautiful.
You're
Okay.
listening
I rehearsed
to
that.
Treasure Coast Forum.
Oh yeah, you're listening to Treasure Coast Forum.
There you go. All right.
WSTU.
14.
Subscribe.
Yes. Yes. Very good. Click the like button if you're watching us on YouTube.
Why not?
Yes.
Show some
Alright.
support.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yes.
Okay, so have you heard of Amir actually told me about this today. So the Tesla car that drove off the cliff in California.
Crazy
No.
stuff. So this is what happened. Okay. So did you guys hear about the horrible crash that happened a couple months ago where the Tesla hit another car? What was it?
100
Baker
miles
Road?
an hour. Yeah, 100
Baker
miles an
Road,
hour.
100 miles
Yeah,
per
well,
hour.
yes,
And,
yes,
like
so-
almost everyone died except maybe one guy. I think they all died.
I think
They-
everybody-
It was terrible.
everybody.
It was bad. And so this collision was much worse, and somehow everyone survived. So there was a Tesla, a family was in it. The dad was driving, the mom was in the passenger seat. Then there's kids, like one was 3, one was 8, very young kids.
Hmm.
They drive off a cliff. They
Mhm.
fall down a cliff, 250 feet.
And this,
Tesla crashes down on the ground. They're all
Wow.
okay.
this cliff was
Wow.
known to have people falling off of it just because of where
That
it's
hairpin
positioned.
turn. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right,
Okay.
yeah. And so basically the driver was charged for murdering his everyone in the car because the car went off the cliff. So basically they did some investigation. They like asked or interrogated, I guess, or like
Mhm.
the
Interviewed.
yes, there we go,
Yes.
interviewed.
How could he be charged of murdering everyone in the car if everyone survived?
Or sorry, attempted murder.
Purposefully.
Oh, attempted.
Yeah, they said
oh,
that he
attempted.
might have
Yeah,
purposefully
attempted-
drove off a cliff.
Attempted murder and child abuse.
Whoa.
Yeah, because so yeah, and then plummeted 300 feet, right?
Wow.
And
Crazy.
so they all went to the hospital just to make sure everything was okay,
Right.
and they were interviewed, and some stuff was leaked maybe from the mom, from the dad, dad, because probably after this the mom had enough of this. It's like, okay, let me just say what's happening, something might be happening. Wasn't leaked, but
Hmm.
as soon as he was being released from the hospital, he's going to go to jail. And
Yeah.
that is 2 very harsh accounts. So he probably won't be getting out for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
So
that was absolutely
how
insane.
did they all survive
Exactly.
300 feet? Are Teslas really, really good? Because I mean, the other accident that happened was also a Tesla, and that was a collision that wasn't as big as this. It's not falling off a cliff, and
Right.
they all died. So what?
well, the
could've-
car was doing 100 miles an hour.
Mhm.
When
Yeah.
the
but
one
this
on
car
Baker
fell
Road,
off a cliff.
but it's not doing 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's gravity, I guess. It doesn't fall at 100 miles an hour
Right.
immediately. And it was tumbling, so maybe
Right.
it's manufactured to
Well, yeah, Teslas are actually built extremely well. It's
Mhm.
it's what they call a skateboard platform
okay.
because all the weight is on the bottom
Yep.
and it keeps the car really close to the ground. It's very difficult to roll them over and that sort of thing, almost impossible. So yeah, so it's
Yeah.
part of the safety feature of the vehicle.
Very, very right. It landed when it was on the cliff, and it was very crushed from
Mm.
tumbling.
Hmm.
It was still laying. It wasn't laying on its upper. It was laying with the wheels to the ground.
Correct.
Land on its
Interesting.
feet.
Yeah. So you're very right about that.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, one thing good
But
that they did.
being
Yeah.
crushed by the cliff, wouldn't the top roof like collapse on them?
Well, because you're going at like a 90-degree angle. You're falling. You're not necessarily like
Well, they're
being
tumbling down.
Mhm.
right.
So
yeah.
they didn't.
Not falling. Correct. Tumbling. So it wouldn't be. It's more like. I
So
don't know.
the
if you
tumbling
roll
gave
the
them
ball down.
friction, so they wouldn't just go. "Ploo."
Correct.
Right. Right.
Right.
Okay.
You didn't land on there.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Now
Yeah.
it makes more sense how they
Right.
survived.
Kind of a rocky cliff. So not a sheer cliff.
Mhm, right.
Entirely different. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that happened. It was.
So attempted murder. Whoa.
Yeah, right. And that was very surprising that sorry, I just whistled in there. It was one of the reporters from the Coastside Fire Protection District Battalion said we come out here unfortunately all too often for things like this. So it
So
could
it's a
be,
known area.
it's a known area, and
So you would think they would have put some sort of barricade
Yeah.
up to
Right.
Or a
right.
sign, or at least something.
Now that there's actually an accident, or now that there's actually like a major accident or something happened, maybe they might do something. I don't know,
Hmm.
but very right. They must do something. Of course, when something bad happened, then we have to
after the
after a
fact.
while,
Yeah.
right after the fact.
I have seen areas in this town where like 10 accidents will happen and they still don't build anything.
Right.
After I think like there's a certain amount of accidents
Certain
or people
amount, it
died,
should be,
then
if it happens more than once, I think twice should be the
well, then you have
max.
human error and I don't know.
There's a lot of mitigating factors. First of all, putting up traffic lights or
very expensive.
traffic calming and all those things are rather expensive.
You know, roundabouts are actually safer than lights because it keeps
Yes.
traffic
Mhm.
going.
Yes.
So they've installed more of those in Jensen, I see, near where my grandma lives, near
Mhm.
the Pines.
So here's we only got a couple minutes. So here's my short thing on roundabouts.
Mhm.
The reason why we have them is they're very popular in Europe,
Okay.
and the Department of Transportation shares. Have you ever traveled in Europe and you saw, they had octagon stop signs and a
Mhm.
lot of the road markings
Mirror
seem
could.
similar? Well, so apparently there's like a global effort to standardize stuff.
Mhm.
So the Department of Transportation gets money, federal money, and then they make it available to communities if the communities do initiate various guidance suggestions for roundabouts or traffic calming or different techniques that they can employ for when they're thinking about how they want to develop an area.
Okay.
Okay. So they get discount, they get government assistance, they get grant money. So they get the cost of doing the roundabout maybe half the cost of what it would cost if they decided to do it on their own.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
So that's the reason why they're doing it. It's because follow the money. I think they're perfectly fine. I have a problem personally that the government kind of micromanages the decision making.
Mhm.
Communities should say, I want to have a right angle corner. I like a right angle corner. That's what we want to do. That's what we want to spend our money on. It's our road tax money. That's what we want.
Mhm.
Or we want a roundabout. We're going to pay for a roundabout. Whatever it is, that should be supported by your government in any
Yeah,
way.
the people.
But I just don't like the fact that it's kind of very quietly you're getting micromanaged into decision making. Oh, we'll do it this way. It's better and cheaper, and yeah, fine, great.
Give you benefits. Yeah.
But it's the problem is it's not really discussed with the public.
Okay. So
The
it's not really a decision, really.
Yeah, it's just because DOT, they have only so much money to spend, and they're trying to get all these different projects done. And so anywhere there's a pot of money that they can use, great, let's do that. But
Exactly. Follow the money.
Right.
Said it best.
so I don't know. I think local communities know best how they want to spend their money.
Right.
And
Yep.
and rather than being micromanaged, and the problem is these decisions come out of Brussels, not out of Washington, not out of Tallahassee,
Belgium.
but Brussels, because it's part of this whole world thing.
Standardization kind of.
Standard governance. It's like I'm going to be a citizen of the world as opposed to a citizen of Florida, U.S. I'm not keen on that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's just me.
See
That's
that.
my personal soapbox.
Mhm.
Not
Yeah,
the
sure.
not the opinion of the station, the management, or anybody
Right.
else. That's just me.
Okay.
But
Very nice.
yeah, all right, we got to go. We're running late. All right, bye. Say
Thanks
goodbye.
for tuning in.
All right,
Bye.
Bye.